thing that they should adopt, I think all solar installers, the new energy companies of the future, they should create and sell a post-install engagement plan. For example, an O&M offering that turns a 25-year liability into a 25-year recurring revenue opportunity. And as a leave behind, I say let's leave behind this idea of the solar coaster, or the idea that there's all these external factors that buffet the industry and give us these excuses to not really focus on the customer. So we just have this imperative to just be excellent in the face of what comes.
Great. Martha, what should we leave behind? What should we look into?
I really, really want us to focus on the value prop to the consumer and make that super clear. I worry that the target market has shrunk in a recession. So keeping the available target alive requires to be super clear about what you get as a consumer. And instead of talking about a leave behind for the industry, I want to say my team is doing a big machine learning release in 2 weeks, and that is innovation during COVID. And the team is remarkably cheerful and steady. So I just wanted to comment on that spillover, that innovation is risky during these times, but it has all these spillover benefits too.
Wonderful. Good luck, Martha. Joe, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm just going on the automation theme, look into automating some processes that you might not have thought were automatable, like hooking up your CRM and your ERP to automate your accounts receivable. That's something we've done recently. So now when a deal moves to a certain construction milestone stage, it sends out the invoice automatically, and we've automated our accounts receivable. There's all sorts of little things like that that are possible now that might not have been possible a couple of years ago. What to leave behind? Leave behind the idea that things cannot radically change in the industry in the United States. I got to meet with one of Scott's colleagues a couple weeks ago who spent 3 months in Australia, and he reminded me that in Australia, solar is half to a third the cost of what it is in the United States. I want to repeat that. In Australia, solar is half to a third of the cost that is in the United States. There's a great article that Green Tech Media posted a few years ago called How to Have the Cost of Solar in the United States. Things can change if this community bands together and demands it. And we will not survive unless we get to $2 a watt in a year and a half when the ITC goes to zero. So we've got to look at big change. And somebody asked about what's going to happen with a new administration that's pro-solar. We've got to find a way to cut red tape to make the process faster, have more happier customers, and a lower cost.
Great. Thanks, Joe. Ned, your 2 thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, maybe related to Joe's, to drive that sort of change, I think the industry needs to have a longer term lens, on strategy and where it wants to go. It's very difficult to drive, change if you're thinking, 6 or 12 months out. There's just, there's not enough runway to really drive transformational growth. Companies that are able to do it really have a clear perspective on how they see the world changing over a 5 or 10 year horizon, and then chart a path for evolving to some new model over that period of time. In terms of what to leave behind, I mean, I think inspired by some of our earlier conversations, leave behind the assumptions, the legacy assumptions about how the industry works that just aren't relevant to the current or future world.
Your 2 thoughts, please.
Yeah, on the first one, I think I would say consumer education and transparency, a commitment to both of those. I think they can really accelerate market adoption for solar and reduce the customer acquisition cost. And one thing to leave behind, this is a little bit more tactical. I'm hoping someday we'll get rid of 100% commission only sales teams.
It's really hard to follow a lot of other great thoughts about what we should keep in mind and leave behind. So I'm going to just go really general. What I'd like to see is leaders in the solar industry asking how might we more consistently, and leaving behind we've always. Everybody in the solar industry that I talk to wants to innovate. I notice also that many people come into that innovation discussion with a lot of preconceptions. And I just really want to emphasize how important it is to ask really open questions like how might we blank, and to encourage our teams to do that as well.